Why not the Jets being all over the tabloids? We're not surprised, as we remember the Jets of the 2000s, as Rex Ryan, who we called Sexy Rexy, had his own thoughts about the clown show they were. And I am a Jet fan, ladies and gentlemen. But am I upset that Rankins, the star defensive tackle for the New York Jets, and I say star because he was a star with the Saints, he just hasn't been the same player that he was. But hopefully with this year, with a pass rush, giving them a little bit more space, I think Rankins and Quentin Williams are going to have sensational years on that defensive line. But he came out over the week and stated that he believes that this defense could be the best defense in all of the NFL. The interesting part of that saying is we don't know what this defense is. On paper, they've got some good players. C.J. Mosley, Kawan Alexander, Quentin Williams, Rankins, Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, and DJ Reed, and guys that have been successful either in college or in the NFL. But to say that this is going to be the best defense in football, there's quite a few good defenses in the NFL. The LA Chargers adding a big beast of a man, Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, to that defense with Derwin James and Joey Bosa. That defense is just going to be absolutely sensational if they stay healthy. And the Broncos, a young defense that can get at you in so many different ways. New coach, offensive-minded coach, in Nathaniel Hackett. But I think this is going to be a very interesting year because even their own division. Now, the Patriots lost a lot of pieces, but we are talking about Bill Belichick, who is a defensive-minded coach, who likes to get at you, likes to bring up those defensive backs, and they might not really stand out without J.C. Jackson, but I think they're going to be fun to watch. The Buffalo Bills adding Von Miller in the offseason and some of the young players that they have. They added Elam in the draft. They're going to have a pretty good secondary as well. So there's a lot of good defenses. And then don't forget the NFC with the Rams and Donald, Ramsey. There's a tremendous amount of good defenses, Speedy, in the NFL.
Yeah, there's a lot to say that the Jets are going to be the best. Yeah, you mentioned the Rams. I would say the 49ers and the Saints are probably also in that mix of top NFC defenses. In the AFC, we didn't even talk about the North. You got teams like the Ravens.
Yep.
The Steelers now with Brian Flores definitely could be in
Browns.
there. The Browns. There's definitely a lot of them. But I don't mind Sheldon Rankins saying that either because you want to give your young players confidence. A lot of new players all at once. And if the Jets can stay healthy, you're still going to have a very complete, well-rounded defense, too. The Jets don't have any significant flaw now that they signed Kawan Alexander. A lot of people were concerned at the inside linebacker at the time. Maybe the only thing is maybe just a rangy, like a zone coverage type safety, but they have three other safeties that can be versatile. And Robert Saleh's scheme, even with the 49ers, never really revolved around one free zone safety. So you're looking at a case where the Jets, with all the secondary depth they have now, with interior defensive line depth, including Sheldon Rankins, if he does stay healthy, they definitely could take a leap. I could see them being, if they stay healthy enough, a top 12 level defense.
I think they're a top 10 defense.
Okay.
If they could stay healthy with the secondary they added in the offseason, I think they're going to be fun to watch. You're going to expect Robert Saleh. He doesn't blitz. He likes to play a lot of man and press. I expect this defense to be a lot explosive this year than they were last year because they have Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson. They're going to see a lot of Quentin Williams up the middle that can get at the quarterback. So I think it's going to be fun. And then Kawan Alexander, you can use him in space. You can blitz him. You could do all different things. And we all know Robert Saleh. He is a man that likes to use different packages, nickel packages in his defense, what he did in San Francisco. Right. So I expect this to be a fun, high-flying defense, but I don't know if they're going to be the number one defense. But again, nobody thought that Rex Ryan coming to the Jets the way he did and transformed that defense from number 19 to number 2 in the NFL. Now, Robert Saleh, if he has the pieces that he has and he has the pass rushes that he has, I expect this defense to be much more explosive this year than they were last year. DeShaun Watson. And this story just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. This past week, the NFL came to an agreement to a 6-game suspension. And now all of a sudden the NFL doesn't like that. They want him to be out for the season or at least 12 games, and they want to fine him $8 to $10 million for the situation that he put himself into. Now, if I was DeShaun Watson, I wouldn't be very happy with the league. You sat back, you spoke to the league, you gave your statement, you were never convicted for a criminal case. Now, that doesn't mean that he was right for what he did or anything that he did behind closed door to be acceptable. 3 criminal courts completely pushed any criminal activity away from the court system, which means he wasn't going to be convicted for any crime or criminal dispute. So why is the NFL trying to hurt this guy more? This is a problem that I've been saying about Roger Goodell and the owners of the league. If I was the lawyer of DeShaun Watson right now, what should I do? Should I countersue the NFL for putting a little bit more stress on my client? He will sit out for the 6 games. And I told everybody he wasn't going to get more than 6 or 8 games. Now, all of a sudden, the NFL don't like it because they've gotten a lot of bad press for this because Calvin Ridley, he bet on football. He's out for the season. And then the Tom Brady situation a couple of years ago with Deflategate. He got 4 games. Why is this guy who did all those bad things to these women, which has not been proven yet, why is this guy getting off with just 6 games? And the NFL's wrong on this. They should not be trying to look into this and give this guy 12 games, $8 to $10 million fines for nothing they have not proved. I don't feel bad for DeShaun Watson because he caused his own problem, but I feel bad for the situation because you waited for your suspension, you got your suspension, and now you're going to sit and now you're going to have to wait until the NFL is going to try to figure out how they can screw him even more.
This continues to be one of the most unique cases, and it takes another twist now with the settlement idea you just mentioned. What the NFL did, 12 games, $8 million, $10 million fine, which DeShaun Watson inevitably rejected because DeShaun Watson
Wouldn't you? Seriously.
is thinking the same way you are. Probably 8 games is the merit of what the court cases have already done. 3 different court cases now, going to the Supreme Court, going to civil court. The list goes on and on.
3 criminal courts.
Right.
And they all pushed it out of court.
This is not really a case that you could compare to any of the other ones that the NFL has been referencing, which is making me believe that it's going to be very hard for them to win their appeal, this rejection of what the Sue L. Robinson ruling was. And I'm not here to justify anything DeShaun Watson did. I'm not
Nobody
saying,
is. We know he's a bad kid.
Yeah, he's in the wrong for everything he did, and whatever ends up happening, I'm not going to root for him by any means. But the ruling is not going to be something that's concrete where the NFL could just compare it to any other case of this. Calvin Ridley is the one that's brought up because it happened recently, but also they've used Tom Brady's as leverage. They use Ezekiel Elliott's domestic violence case as leverage, Ray Rice's domestic violence case as leverage to give them only the 6 games as being the bare minimum because the Supreme Court was saying that DeShaun Watson's actions were not found to be violent. Now, with all the settlements, it definitely could have been, but nothing that could be proven. So that's going to make it very difficult for the NFL to win this kind of push to get a full season. I think eventually it'll come down to a compromise. I don't know if the 6 games will stay, but it's not going to be something that the NFL is going to want when they want to suspend him for the whole season.
And then the Miami Dolphins are a story, as always. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, is suspended for the full year. He cannot be in the stadium. He cannot watch his team play football for a full season because of tampering violations with Tom Brady last year and Sean Payton. And I'm not surprised because we all know who Stephen Ross is. He's a New York representative. He bought the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, they have other celebrity ownership too.
And he's always looking for that shiny piece of gold. And he wanted Tom Brady because Tom Brady was the big name that was available when he became a free agent from the Patriots. He did not land him. He decided to go to Tampa and he won a Super Bowl over there. When you look at this situation, and Stephen Ross needs to keep himself away from that team. Every time you hear Stephen Ross's name being brought up, it just puts a bad cloud, dark cloud over the Miami Dolphins, a young team that has a lot of good young talent.
We look at instances in all sports, too, where we've seen ownership get in the way, and it's hurt so many teams. We talk about it all the times with the Knicks and James Dolan. The Knicks have started to progress better because James Dolan has stayed out of the way. The Mets now is changing ownership. The Wilpons always want to interfere everything. Steve Cohen likes to do it for the positive and spends money, and now they have free range to be able to do things. The NFL, a lot of those teams haven't been able to just hang on because, like you were saying before with Roger Goodell, him and the owners are very close. So you have all these corrupt owners, Stephen Ross, Dan Snyder, Jerry Jones, that continue to get away with these things. And yes, Miami's always loved the flashy type moves. They always go for the big free agents, nice warm city. But has it worked for putting a product on the field? They haven't won a playoff game since 2003. So now they're trying Tom Brady. Okay, fine. You've played against him for all these years. Swing and miss. And Sean Payton now. So you lost the first and third round pick and maybe you lost the chances of being able to get him again. And it just shows that the organization dysfunction will still reign supreme, even in what you thought of as getting talent. The Browns are going through the same kind of thing with DeShaun Watson. I think their roster is a top 5 roster, yet they still can't get out of their own way when it comes to team culture and dysfunction with ownership.
And congratulations to Deebo Samuel, getting a 3-year, $71.5 million contract, $58.5 million guaranteed, well-deserved. A guy that's been beaten up, not only as a wide receiver, but as a running back over there in San Francisco. After somebody in Seattle getting his big-time contract, another wide receiver who I think is highly overrated. Deebo Samuel is a guy that definitely deserved the money. 26-year-old kid who has been in the league for 3 years and been dominant ever since he stepped on the field. So shout out to Deebo Samuel. I'm so excited. The NFL has just started on Thursday. They had the first preseason game, Jacksonville and the Las Vegas Raiders. By the way, Las Vegas absolutely demolished the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is what's going to happen for many, many weeks to come. And we didn't even see Trevor Lawrence. We saw a couple of decent players. Adams played in one play. Jacobs made a couple of plays for the Las Vegas Raiders, but we didn't really see the players as much as we wanted to. But I don't believe this Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to be any good. But I'm very excited. The Jets and the Giants and football's about to start. They're starting to practice in pads and full preseason starts next week. So I'm very excited about that.